Just before I left for California, living in Rhode Island, we tried to put a band together just to play clubs to make some money. And we put an ad in the paper. We decided if we had one or two pretty female singers, we'd get more jobs. And the person who answered the ad, her name was Shoshana Feinstein. Well, we got to know each other. We became good friends. And I took off to California and kind of lost touch. Suddenly, I get a phone call from Shoshana. She had moved to California. She was trying to find out where we were. She was hoping maybe we could work together. And the very night of the California Jam, she ran into somebody that she had met when she was a teenager. His name was Ritchie Blackmore. Well, a love affair started. She joined Ritchie for the California Jam, which at the time was the biggest broadcast rock concert ever in the United States. And she called me up and she said, "Would you like to meet Ritchie?" So I went to her apartment and I met Ritchie for the first time. Well, we hit it off. We became friends. And the more he saw Shoshana, the more I would be with Shoshana because she wanted to work with us, the more I got to know Ritchie. A few weeks later, Deep Purple was playing at the Anaheim Convention Center. Shana and I, we drove in a car to bring Ritchie to the concert, and we couldn't get in. You know, he doesn't have some kind of pass or something. It doesn't say, "Oh, I'm the rock star." And normally they come up with limousines, and here we come in a normal car, and we're trying to get Ritchie on into the concert. The cops did not believe us. We had to finally get somebody from the backstage crew to come out and say, "Oh yeah, that's Ritchie Blackmore. He needs to come in." So here I am, my first time at a big concert, being backstage. And Ritchie had a habit of going out into the audience, kind of get a feel for the concert. He said, "Come on with me." So I join him, and we get out there, and some people recognize, "Whoa, it's Ritchie," and they all run over to him, and they say, "Can we have your autograph?" He said, "Yeah, you can have my autograph, but if you want somebody famous's autograph, you should get his," and he points to me. And they said, "Who is he?" He said, "That's Jimmy Page." And all these young kids ran over to me to get my autograph. So I autographed them, Jimmy Page, but it wasn't really Jimmy Page. It was just me, just having a bit of fun before the concert. And I remember watching Deep Purple that night and realizing what a great performer, not just a great musician, but a great performer Ritchie was. A friendship started, and Ritchie at that night asked me, he said, "You know, Shoshana would really like to work with you. And if you put a band together with Shoshana singing, I would be able to support it." Now, you have to remember, we've just been in California. We had our first recording session that really didn't do anything because the band broke up. And here I am meeting Ritchie Blackmore, the lead guitarist of Deep Purple, one of the biggest bands in the world at that time, and saying, he's going to help us do it. I didn't have to think all too long about that. We all agreed, let's put a band together. It was called Dark Star. And the band Dark Star started to write music, started to put things together around Shana's voice. She was trained as an opera singer. So for her to sing bluesy, gutsy music with an operatic touch to it was very unusual. And at the same time, Artie King would come by our rehearsals. And I had met Artie through David. And Artie said, "You know, I have a friend who's an engineer at the record plant. And I think we can get some session time and we can do some recording at the record plant." Well, at the same time, Ritchie had gone back to Germany. Actually, they were recording in the city of Munich, where I now live. There was a studio called Musicland Studios. And it was kind of a cool setup because it was in the basement of a hotel. So the bands could rent a whole floor of a hotel. They could stay there and go into the basement and do their work. And they had just finished recording Stormbringer. I think it was the last album that Deep Purple did with Ritchie before he left the band and formed Rainbow. So it's right at that period where Ritchie's a bit discouraged with what's going on musically with Deep Purple and thinking about starting his own band. And they were going to mix their album at the record plant. So I went with Artie to the record plant. You know, we went as a band and we met Bob, one of the house engineers, And we were given great favor at the record plant. I could go there anytime. I got to hang around with people I saw on TV. I got to meet Dino Danelli from the Rascals. I remember watching them as a 13-year-old kid on Ed Sullivan, and I'm hanging out while he's producing somebody else in his recording session. Or playing pinball with Nicky Hopkins. And Nicky was the piano player on John Lennon's recording of Imagine. Or if you ever saw the movie Woodstock, Nicky Hopkins is playing piano with the Jefferson Airplane. So I'm hanging out with people like that, getting to know them, feeling, yes, I'm getting closer to my goal. And then we came to our recording of doing Dark Star at the record plant.